Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're continuing our series in the Tome of Heroes, talking about the additional bits and pieces of player options that Kobold Press has added to our favorite tabletop game, Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today we're talking about a race that we find in this book that we actually have found in the main D&D books as well. We've seen them before in the Mythical Odyssey of Theros, as well as Ravnica, and they were put into the Monsters of the Multiverse book, where they were given a bit of an update, and overall, they are a solid race. The Minotaur. Minotaur are bull people that come from mythology and lots of other stories, and we find them both in main D&D and here. But the difference is that their natural abilities, while they are similar to their standard D&D 5e cousins, these ones actually have a few varieties, sub-races within their options. We'll talk about the details of the Tome of Heroes Minotaur in just a moment. But before we do, I'd like to let you know, Relax Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can support me here on YouTube and get a couple benefits. First, you get a little badge next to your name in the comments, letting folks know that you're a supporter. But also you get early access to my videos. I upload videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I upload them a day early for members only. If that interests you, you can click the join button just below the video down there. I'd love to see you in the comments with your member badge. And if it doesn't interest you, that's totally fine. Just clicking the subscribe button that's next to the join button, liking the video, just watching the video for that matter, just being here at all is a wonderful way to support me. And I'm very thankful. So thank you very much for watching my content here on YouTube. Minotaurs in the Tome of Heroes are medium-sized creatures, which is a solid thing to be. It's the larger of the two-player races sizes, and I think that is a 10 out of 10 feature. They also have a 30-foot movement speed, which makes sense. I mean, to me, I would think they would be a little faster, but whatever. 9 out of 10, no complaints. They also have dark vision, which is really, really clutch. I think that any creature that doesn't have it wishes they did, and it's good that the Minotaur do, so 10 out of 10 for the standard 60 feet of dark vision. Then they have natural attacks. This means that they can use their horns to attack, which makes sense. They are strength-based attacks, doing 1d6 plus your strength modifier in damage. That is a good amount of damage that it matches with modern D&D races that get the same sort of unarmed strikes, so 9 out of 10 for that. Then they have an ability called Labyrinth Sense. This allows them to perfectly retrace their steps without needing to use any sort of perception or survival check. Fair enough. I think that most D&D games allow you to retrace your steps unless there's some sort of magical effect stopping you from doing it, which I've actually never seen before, oddly enough. I suppose there's probably magical mazes that make it so you lose your way. But overall, I think this is a pretty ribbony feature. I'm going to say that that's 6 out of 10. Not useless, I just don't think it's going to come up a whole lot. You also speak Common and Minotaur. Being bilingual is great. Not getting to choose which language is a little disappointing, but still 8 out of 10 for that. And then you have 3 choices of sub-races. Well, kind of. In the book, they have a standard Minotaur and then 2 variants on the Minotaur, but I'm considering the differences between them the sub-race. So the standard Minotaur gets a +2 to their strength and a +1 to their constitution, leaning very heavily into the big and bulky bull person mindset here. Strength is a good ability score for very specific kinds of builds. I say 8 out of 10 for a +2. Constitution is handy for everyone, giving you more hit points and durability. I say 7 out of 10 for the +1. And the standard Minotaur gets a charge attack. Constitution modifier times per day, so, 3 to 5, depending on your build. When you use your horn attack, you deal 1d6 extra damage on the attack, doubling its power effectively. And you can use your bonus action to shove a creature 5 feet. This increases to 10 feet at higher levels. And yeah, I mean, it's fine, especially if you have extra attack. If you need to, if you're one of those people who likes to build Nova damage builds, and you can do unarmed strikes, maybe if you're a monk or something like that, just doing extra damage with your horns and being able to shove creatures is great. I think that it is a solid ability. The Constitution modifier is a little bit funky, but you know, if you build into it, it'll work. I could definitely see a barbarian getting away with this plenty of times. Yeah, so I say 9 out of 10 for that particular power. But if you want something a little different with your Minotaur, you could go with a Bane Kwai Minotaur. These are effectively swamp and lowland Minotaurs. They get a +2 to their constitution and a +1 to their strength, flipping the script a little bit. This, I believe, Constitution having the buff with +2 is worth 9 out of 10, whereas the +1 to Strength is worth 6 out of 10. It's a slightly more niche of the two ability scores. But they also have a feature called Strong Back. This grants them increased carrying capacity, which, depending on your game, might not even be counted. I don't know if your DM focuses on weight limitations. I know that I don't typically, unless you're trying to carry really heavy objects. So, you know, I guess in some games this would be important, but again, most people are just going to have a bag of holding anyway. I say 6 out of 10 for this. It's certainly on its own doesn't make for much of a feature. On the flip side, there is the feature Wetland Dweller. This grants you a swimming speed, a 25-foot swimming speed, which is weird considering your main speed is 30 feet. And also, in addition to this little movement speed, waist-high mud or water doesn't count as difficult terrain for you, which I feel like you could kind of imply that with a swim speed, because like it's weird to think that like if the water was neck high and you were swimming through it, you can move 25 feet, but if it's waist high, you can't. It's an odd thing. But either way, I think this feature is solid. I think it provides plenty of utility, and a swim speed, it just gives you more maneuverability. So 10 out of 10 for Wetland Dweller. And then, if you want, you can take your Minotaur in the other direction into the mountains and the highlands with the Boghade Minotaur. These folks definitely take a little bit of their inspiration from Scottish heritage because they get a +2 to their wisdom and a +1 to their constitution. I put wisdom kind of on par with strength. It is a good ability score to have depending on what build you're working with. +2 in that is worth 8 out of 10. The +1 in constitution, I mentioned earlier, 7 out of 10. Then they get the Highlander feat. This basically says that when they are at high altitudes, they suffer no ill effects. This just means that they don't have trouble breathing and they don't have to make con saves against exhaustion when they're in the mountains. That's a pretty niche rule that you find like buried in the rules, which I think most people don't really think about. So I'm gonna give that one a 5 out of 10 because it's kind of like the increased carrying capacity. It's only going to come up if your game even cares. On the flip side, you do have the feature called Storied Culture or Storied Culture. This grants you the skill in performance, the charisma-based ability, and an proficiency in an instrument of your choice from a list of 4, which includes drums, bagpipes, and other traditionally Scottish instrumentation. I think that this is a very, very thematic skill proficiency, and because you've got an instrument, which is whatever, you can get those from your background, but gaining performance also, it just leans heavily into this idea that you come from a culture that loves to sing and dance and play music, and it's fun, and I like skill proficiencies coming from the race, so I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. And finally, you gain the Wheelie feat, which gives you advantage against cold-based effects. This includes environmental effects, which would normally make you suffer exhaustion, as well as cold-based magic. It's specific about cold-based damage. So if you're taking damage from Cone of Cold or from Ray of Frost or whatever, and you get to make a saving throw against it, you get advantage against it because of your thick fur. This will definitely come up here and again, and I think that it's a good feature, not the most powerful. It's not straight up cold resistance, which I think it should have been, but here we are, and I say it's worth a 7 out of 10. So overall, you've got the standard kind of mid-range Minotaur with their charge attack, the swamp Minotaur with their swimming, and the mountain Minotaur with their performance and advantage against the cold. Throw in there their horns and their dark vision, and what you have here is a simple, if not a little bit basic race. Some powers are here, which you can see being useful. Other ones are thematic and storytelling, role play features, and I don't think these guys are quite as strong as the standard ones in D&D on pure numbers. But if you're not going for optimization and you're just trying to build something that plays to a theme or a very specific story that you're trying to tell, I think there's plenty here to like. I'm going to give all 3 of the sub-races an 8 out of 10 for various reasons. Their skills, their abilities, it all adds up to something decent. I think you can certainly work around the ASIs and build something relatively strong. I personally would probably take the standard Minotaur. That charge attack really sells itself to me, but the swim speed is nice too, of the Bonkai. And yeah, I think that there's something here for everybody. So if you want to play a cow person, this is a great place to look if the regular one in D&D is a little bit dated for you. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, as well as a link that I'll leave for the Tome of Heroes. This book was written by Kobold Press, and it is a fantastic supplement to D&D 5e. I highly recommend you check it out for yourself. Have a good one, my friends.